I'm your host, Sharada Devi, of the Born to Be Free podcast that serves as a bridge between the ancient and the new era, a confluence of opposites where all is seen as sacred and every experience is meant to catapult you into your supreme destiny.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Born to Be Free podcast. I am Sharada Devi, your host, and I feel very privileged and honored. And you see my smile because I have a very special guest here today with me. Her name is Alison Armstrong. And I feel so honored that she took the time that you're here. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. She has come into my life about half a year ago. I met Alison through actually Leila Martin's podcast. I watched the podcast and it just hit my heart. Like Alison's presence, Alison's your eyes have this strong, penetrative, beautiful quality, but they're also so gentle. And then how you started to unfold certain topics and go into the detail, especially um, in the topic of relationship, because Alison is a relationship expert, I would say, has studied for the last 2 decades more men and women and understanding their behavior and where conflicts come from and how people can have better and deeper relationships. And so that podcast touched me so deeply, and something said, I got to study with her. Like I felt in my heart, there's something really, a key, a link that I was looking for. And so I went to your website and I saw the courses that were available. And the first one that really hit me was the singles intensive. So the singles intensive is the course where you basically have access to almost all the programs, and it's a 6 months program where you, as the words say, singles intensive. You go, it's an intensive. And I thought, like, okay, singles intensive. First, I was a little bit like, ooh, I'm not sure if I want to be identified with being a single in that sense. But then
Right.
when I started to read through the curriculum, I knew I had to do it. Like I looked at the curriculum and I basically signed up the same day. And and since then I've been studying with you like 6 months ago already, because we had access to the program from the beginning. We only started the program like a couple of weeks ago, but I started to going into the course of dating with distinctions and lux, liberation, understanding extraordinary relationships. And you were just talking exactly what I talk, because basically my background is the Vedic teachings. And in the Vedic teachings, we're really basically going into those details as well, but the language is a little bit more spiritual, if I can say so.
Uh-huh.
And what I love about you is it's so clear and down to earth and also nerdy and nitty gritty, but at the same time, so much heart. And so much love and care. And so, yeah, I have so much I want to say about you. But for now, I just want to say welcome, Alison. Thank you so much for being here for this episode. And yeah, so look forward to our conversation.
You're really welcome. Thank you for having me. Dan is here with me because we're traveling in our motorhome. And when you described me as all those things and then said nerdy, he was yeah. I think like an engineer.
Yeah.
I break things down and take them apart and put them back together, try to make them work better. And I'm definitely nerdy.
Yeah.
When I saw Revenge of the Nerds, that movie. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but I saw it as part of my bachelorette party when I was 23 years old, and
Oh.
I had this reaction of like, "That's my tribe." Really funny.
Yeah.
So thank you,
Mm.
and I love that you dove in, and
Mm.
I would just say there's a word that you keep leaving out that matters, because it's the smart singles intensive,
Right.
right? It's not the do stupid things to get rid of being single intensive. it's it's be smart about being single, including a whole lot of appreciating the upside of being single.
Mm.
Because the instincts for women to couple are so compelling that we do stupid things and we end up really unhappy. And then we do them all over again. And then we do them all over again because we got to get rid of this terrible state. And it's cruel. It's a bit cruel the way that our instincts set us up.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
love that you dove into it. I remember when I got your application and I went to see what you'd already done. And the only thing you'd already done was the little thing on which intensive is right for me. you went you went straight to intensive. Some people wade in more slowly, but
Yeah.
many of my favorite students did what you do. Just dive into the deep end of the pool.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's me. If I find something that I love and adore, I just know immediately. And there's no question. I go into it fully, fully with all my being, wholeheartedly. And I'm so grateful and I feel so blessed that I did it, that I'm doing it. I'm learning so much. And I want to say, actually, it's more, I'm just assimilating so much because, as I mentioned, like I've, and also a little bit shy to say about this because I've been studying like the Vedic teachings and also psychology and done my therapy for the last 20 years, basically. Like I really, my journey started 23 years ago, and then going through therapy and doing inner child meditation and reimagination meditation. And then I'm so deep into sacred sexuality and healing my sexual trauma and you name it, you name it, you name it. And then going into this course again, which the information or the knowledge, okay, a certain aspect, and we're going to dive into that now. I mean, you're really dissecting it too. I would say like a surgeon, right? And really dissecting this topic in such an incredible way. And at the same time, like it's on thoughts and thinkings that I've been with for a long time, but at the same time, for them to really sink in, like deeply sink in the way they're sinking in now, one requires this time and dedication, and also kind of a mirror, which is really a blessing that came into my life because when I signed up, there was a man coming into my life, and then I could apply everything in the moment, and also seeing that because the chemistry was very strong, and like you mentioned, like chemistry, sexual attraction, when it's very strong, it can blind us and suddenly we don't see clearly anymore. And so then to have a guy that is just there by your side and like, pay attention to this, pay attention to this, pay attention to this. And like, oh, it's happening right now. The moment to honor myself, to speak up. So, yes. Yeah. So yes, definitely smart single intensive, a very important point. Yes. So yes, as we're going to some of the dissecting of the different topics, um, to give just a little bit more background about you, what brought you to doing what you're doing?
Oh boy. There's so many ways to answer that question. And it may sound weird, but I think I was born an activist. And I mean, from the time I was a girl and I found out about inequities. So in many ways, and completely, my study of men began when a colleague was called a frog farmer in a seminar. And as in some women turn frogs into princes, and she was accused of turning princes into frogs. And do they have that fairy tale in Switzerland as well?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yes.
absolutely. Okay. So I saw my life in that,
Mm,
that men were wonderful in the beginning and then they changed. And
mm,
I thought they changed because the wonderful was an act. The wonderful was a con. And
mm,
then they became their true selves. And
mm,
so I took on a pretty, I would say proactive, bordering on aggressive approach of I would antagonize them without knowing that's really what I was doing. But I wanted to see their true selves before I fell for the
mm,
act. And when the man who called my colleague Lisa a frog farmer, when he said that, I just it just had the ring of truth.
mm,
And truth is my what we would call my second noble quality. It's something I am compelled by in a spiritual way to seek the
mm,
truth, to discern the truth, to tell the truth, to listen for the truth. And a lot of times it's inconvenient, and you'll learn you may come across this work when you get there, but it's my highest value is freedom, which is so born to be free. Okay, we're talking my language here. And so my study of men began shortly after that moment when I was trying to figure out how was I bringing out the worst in men. Because I
mm,
was so normal, it was invisible. I just did what everybody else did. So I couldn't tell what was causing the reactions.
mm,
And this question popped into my head, what if men are responding to women?
mm,
And it took until a couple of years ago for me to realize all these questions that have popped into my head have been guidance. They've been
mm,
guidance from higher consciousness, and they've been dead on and just steered me in the most miraculous ways. And what happened in December of 1994 was my activism, right? Because I really was born an activist. I was always incensed at injustice and inequity. And I found myself speaking for people who couldn't be heard. Like I wanted to know the truth of the homeless in the county where I lived in California. What was the truth of them?
mm,
Instead of what people said about who they were, and ended up publishing research with the
mm,
University of California, Irvine, and the county demographer's office, which those were normally at war, right? So seeking the truth and making it known what was really going on. And I founded something called the Orange County Summit for Children
mm,
to get everyone who was serving children in Orange County, which half of the homeless in Orange County were children. So who was serving them? What was the truth about what they really needed? And could we all be on the same team instead of competing for funds? And the result was this harmonic convergence of so many things for the well-being of children would best be implemented in education, but but education couldn't keep up with educating, let alone the well-being of all these kids. And so I was trying to impact educators and the way they did what they did and bring transformation to education when a teacher said to me, a kindergarten teacher said, but what do I do when they can't learn because they were up all night with their parents fighting?
mm, mm,
Yeah.
mm,
And so it all came together with the realization that I'd been studying men since 1991. So
mm,
it was almost 4 years. I had a ton of material that I wanted to write a book. I wanted to write the Queen's Code. So I wanted to write that book, but I didn't know how to write it in a way that women would transform their relationship with men while they gain an understanding of how men think and what they're motivated by and how to communicate with them. Because in the first 6 months of studying men, everything I learned I used against men.
Mm.
I didn't even know I was learning from Know Thy Enemy.
Mm.
And I became even more effective in not only manipulating men, but diminishing men, emasculating men, stealing their power, which I didn't know I did that because they terrified me. They frustrated and terrified me. So just these people should not have power. I didn't know how thoroughly I thought that until I was called out on that. So that's how this all ended up. And last month, it was 30 years since we began our workshops, which we began so I could teach women so they could teach me how to teach them. And I thought it would take just a little while, just like I thought it would take 2 or 3 months to learn everything worth knowing about men. I thought it would take a year or two to learn everything I needed to know about teaching women. And then I'd be able to write the book. No, it was like 13 years before I knew that I knew enough to write it. And then, as you know, when I sat down to write it, I didn't. It's completely channeled. I watched a movie and typed as fast as I could for 3 weeks. Took 3 weeks to write 96,000 words down. And I'm in love with it. Like you would your children, where you can only take a little bit of credit and the rest is off. That's how I am about my 3 kids.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. Yeah, the Queen's Code, I'm still marinating in it. It is a mistress piece. Definitely. Everyone gets to. I like to say gets to. I have this value to, instead of saying you have to, because there's no have to's in life, right? We only get to do. So, and I know you value words so profoundly. So,
Yes.
yes,
Everybody gets to.
we get to.
Well, published it in 2012. We published it on the internet a week at a time, a chapter per week, just like the book happens. We published
Right.
it's 8 weeks in the lives of these people. And so we published it a week at a time, and I interacted with the people who are reading it. And we published it intentionally without any encryption, without any protection to discern how many devices. And we did it on purpose so that, I don't know, I think I'm a little afraid of Big Brother. I wanted to make sure it couldn't be suppressed. So we published in a way that people could print copies of it. They could they could read it on multiple devices. There's all they could. So we know within 3 weeks it was in 70 countries, but we have no idea how many people printed and handed out copies to all the people that they knew, right? So yeah, it's sweet. And I think you know that I'm working on the sequel. This is about the sequel. So that's its own wild ride.
And then the King's Code.
Yep, that's the sequel to the Queen's Code.
That's the sequel, right? Yes.
Yeah. Keys to the Kingdom is the prequel, and then there's the Queen's Code.
Sequel is exactly.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I wrote Keys to the Kingdom because I didn't know how to write the Queen's Code yet, but I needed to get it out. It was like I was pregnant and I had to give birth to one of the babies. And so it was just like the Queen's Code. Even though I didn't trust it when I got to the Queen's Code, I typed it in 8 days. and it's 46,000 words. And, you know, 4 of the characters in Keys of the Kingdom become 8 in the Queen's Code. And I don't know entirely what's going to happen in the King's Code. They show me things. And I know, yeah, I know a lot of important things, but I don't know that we've met all the characters yet.
Okay. They're still to be revealed.
Yes. Oh, I just realized one of them has already been revealed.
Oh,
His name is Henry.
okay.
We know there's a Henry coming.
Mm. Henry, yes. We have a we have a very beautiful example with Henry in our teaching tradition. Actually, yes.
Oh,
It's a story where, Henry the Eighth I am, where it's a little bit
yes, I
like
grew up with,
how we repeat, you know that?
oh my gosh, I grew up with that song.
Uh-huh.
And then as I got old enough with the off with her head and um the wives of Henry the Eighth, and oh golly. Yes, no, this would not be that Henry.
That would not be that Henry, no.
No.
Definitely not. But interesting, like the associative mind we hear. And then it's beautiful to neutralize that
Mm.
association and
Yes.
bring out the truths. Like, re restoring restoring the image and true
Mm.
meaning, like of
Mm.
Henrys and all men and every single being.
Yes.
Yes. So yeah, beautiful. Thank you for sharing. It's very moving and touching. So I'd love to dive into. There are so many of the classes that I love to discuss, but I think the first one to dive into is the chemistry, like how when there's strong chemistry, we get easily taken. And I feel there's still this notion out there, like the more chemistry, that's a better sign. That's the sign, like
That's the sign.
that's the sign. Chemistry equals that's the sign. And I feel that's such a misleader, actually. It's like the opposite. In one way, it is a sign, if you would agree. I don't know. I love to hear your take on it. And I know your take, but for our listeners,
Part of it. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
no part
Be
of it,
happy
right?
to.
Yes.
Well, especially for someone who's on a spiritual path, connection, deep, deep soulmate connection. That's his biggest sign is chemistry. And most people are thinking that they have to have one or the other. Like that they have great chemistry with somebody and they're struggling to connect, or they have this amazing connection with them and but there's no chemistry, right? Or not enough. And I'm really excited because next week we're actually putting chemistry and connection on our YouTube channel in 6 parts so that everybody can learn about the effects of chemistry and the effects of connection, and then how to cause the amount that you desire when you desire it, so that you're not at the effect of it. You actually can generate chemistry by your own treasure hunts and perception, and you can generate connection, and you can increase them or decrease them according to what you need. And chemistry is chemistry. It's chemicals. It's testosterone and epinephrine. And the epinephrine, commonly called adrenaline, is what makes our hearts pound and our blood race and our skins tingle and shortness of breath and blush and all that stuff going on. And testosterone, it is the hormone of hunting, hunting, acquisition, track that down. And so men and women experiencing chemistry, they want to get that person. And it's very much a take energy.
Yeah.
And that can be exciting, but it can also it's the opposite, has the opposite cause of connection, and it can prevent connection. And when it's too much chemistry, which is my only problem, chemistry is lovely when you're causing it. But to be at the effect of chemistry, at the effect of too much chemistry, we disconnect with ourselves. We disconnect with our own values. We disconnect with our own wisdom about ourselves. And we do stupid things, men and women, both. Too much chemistry, not good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's meant to make us stupid, because the whole point of sex from the point of view of nature is to make babies. And especially if you think about it, what causes chemistry in women is the perception of strength. So women mating with the strongest men as they perceive, from nature's point of view, that's going to improve the species, right? That keeps getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And then men's attraction to how different women are, they're intrigued by us. And then they're also attracted to complementary strength. They're looking for women who aren't strong in the way that they are, but they're still looking for strength. Well, coupling with someone with complementary strength, having a child that's creating more strength, being able to protect and provide for that child because of complementary strength, like, it's just all set up for the future. It's all set up for the survival of this species perfectly. And my first husband and I made our contribution to the survival of the species. It was it was chemistry, and our son is brilliant and amazing and an honorable human being, and we agree he was worth the 7 years of misery that we had, because we had no foundation. It was too thin. Chemistry is too thin a foundation for what I wanted. I wanted a partnership. You cannot build a partnership on chemistry. You can't even build a partnership on a strong connection, which is what you're going to get to experience in Smart Singles. It's brick by brick. It's agreement by agreement. It's truth that's accepted, truth that's honored, needs that are respected and provided for, and teamwork to get met. It's a heck of a process, and chemistry and connection are insufficient. But they're both wonderful, and I'm for people having them as much as they want.
Yeah. Like, and I know, like, you who are listening and watching, and I pray that this goes out to so many people, because I know there's so many people that are like still in this belief that, okay, the chemistry is there, and then we mate, children are there, and then within a year or sometimes even less time, boof, the volcano explodes, and then yeah. But I know that is also all part of the sacred order. Like, we all get to have our lessons, because without the lessons and without the pain, we would not wake up. Like, it's too good. And then we stay in our comfort, and sometimes it has to be so excruciatingly painful for us to wake up and choose to inquire and then ask for liberation and extraordinary relationships, which we're all worthy of and deserving. And but then, like many of us, we do not feel deserving of actually this type of relationship that are so nurturing and giving.
Can I say something about that?
Yes, please. Yes.
We encountered that from the very beginning with the women in our workshops, that what they really, what their hearts desired, they didn't feel worthy of. And, you know, I'm a dictionary human, so I looked deserving up in the dictionary, and it said to have a right to because of acts or qualities. And the second definition was worthy. And so then I looked up worthy, and it said equal to. And both men and women struggle with having earned, right? So have a right to because of acts or qualities. So both men and women struggle with feeling like they've done enough good to have earned particular needs being met, and to have earned being loved, and to have earned being committed to. And as I saw what a trap it was, that if we don't ask for what we need to be great until we've earned those needs, then we're never going to be great. So we need to have our needs met so that we can be our best selves, not because of all the best we've ever already done. So we need to flip it, that it's what we require in order to, not what we require and that we've earned. And this was back in 1995 and 96 and 97. And the blessing for me, Sharada, was that I saw that the construct wasn't going to work, and chose gift. You don't deserve a gift. Your birthday gift is not because you earned it by living another year. True gifts are not earned and cannot be earned. They're expressions of the giver. And so instead of trying to earn love, shifted attention to receiving love. Instead of trying to earn what I need and require to be the person I want to be, shift to asking for and receiving it and appreciating it. And just all the way down the line, it's even a choice someone can make to live a life that they haven't earned. but give back, right? Give back, or pay forward, or contribute in equal measure or more, but get to have a kind of, wow, this is amazing quality, instead of, yep, I was owed this. Oh, you love me? Thank goodness you love me. And even like, I deserve to be loved. I deserve to be loved. I deserve to be loved. If that works, if somebody keeps saying that to themselves, then when someone says, I love you, they're like, well, you should. It takes all the beauty out of it. So I'm huge. I'm just opt out of that. It's literally an equation. We call it the deserving equation. And there's all these nuances to it, and I'm going to teach a class on it probably this summer, but it's no win. It's no win for men and for women. And it's truly even worse for men, the deserving equation, because theirs is a lifetime equation. And they add up all the good they think they've done minus all the harm they think they've caused. And that equals what they deserve. And so, and men hold themselves accountable for things that women can't even imagine. And so they're trying to, we call it the road to hell. They'll try to make up for the harm they caused by more good deeds, which means that they're spending their time and energy and resources on providing more and on fumes without getting the appreciation and the support that they need. They're running on empty, and they keep trying to provide, and then they need something that they think they don't deserve, but they absolutely need it, so they take it. And then they're ashamed of having taken it, which then has them deserving even less. It's one of the things that we do in our course, Being Extraordinary as a Man. We have a process, which we use in understanding women, understanding men as well, of self-forgiveness, for them to be treated as honorable people, because only honorable people experience shame, and to be listened to as honorable people, owning the harm they think they've done, which that's the only thing that matters, is they think they did it, owning it and forgiving themselves for it, which takes tremendous courage. It takes so much courage to forgive ourselves, because life beckons us to risk again. Come back and give and risk failing badly again.
And that's why we don't want to forgive ourselves in the first place. So then we don't risk for this
Yeah.
to happen
It's a way to
again.
protect ourselves.
We protect ourselves in that
We're
way.
protecting ourselves. We'll do penance, but not go back and clean it up, or even not clean it up. Just acknowledge I made a mess. Now what? And make a new commitment to that part of life. We withdraw from that part of life.
Mm.
We're missing in action.
Such a vicious circle.
Yeah. So I would abandon being deserving, especially of love and of what you require to be a better version of yourself, to be more peaceful, to be more loving, to be more generous, to be more compassionate, however you define it for yourself. What do you require? And because we're stuck in these physical pieces, the requirements will have to do with the physical. They'll have to do with affection and being listened to and sleeping and being in nature and having alone time and having time with people that you resonate with.
Yeah.
How do we deserve all that?
Yeah. That connects so beautifully also to the restoration requires. Like that process is so beautiful that the 9 steps, I think it was 9, like the will to have to restore and heal and be free again, and understanding the benefits, like that's such a big one. Like I memorized that. Like, the compelling telling of stories, and like and the desire to punish also, like each and every single step there is crucial to understand. So like that's connected. The restoration requires process.
Yes, from extreme freedom.
Yes.
Yeah, extreme freedom is, I love that you love it.
Yeah.
And it's one of our most difficult courses because it doesn't appeal to instincts.
Mm.
It it doesn't. Our instincts have us not be restored,
Mm.
have us reduce the risk, and even use wounds to establish our status in a group, right? And for all the things, that we distinguish in extreme freedom. And so while human beings have a miraculous ability to be whole again, we mostly don't partake of it. And as you know, that's what that course is about, the will to be
Yeah.
whole and free.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Yes. And meeting that wound of being injured or dishonored. I love how you distinct the distinction, and especially like the injury, but also then the dishonor, because sometimes the injury is not clear because we only think of injury like, yeah, or this huge big thing. But
Right.
then when we bring it down to like I was dishonored, then it can be, yeah, then it gives space for a moment where somebody said something or did not say something, and that so
Right.
they hurt.
Even
Mhm.
even the little ouches, they can build up and we shut down.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. It's taking a breath on that. Yes, it's good to, very important. Like we are in always bringing in the felt sense. It's kind of a term from somatic experiencing, and to bring our awareness to the sensations that are happening in the present moment when we are in a conversation or in a sharing. And so when I bring my awareness also to the sensation that are here in my body, and I take a breath and then I exhale, it becomes not, it becomes an embodied experience, even while we're in a deep mental space right now. Like we're exploring the mind and understanding the mind and the ways of the mind and how we think, which is necessary and so beautiful.
Mhm.
And then in combination with going into the body and the felt sense, we can, yeah, really truly then also on a physical level release the tensions that are built up and present. So yeah. I would love to still, like, before we conclude,
Yes. Where do you want to
um,
go next?
where do I go next? I'm thinking about expectations. Feel
Ah,
like, and because that's such a big one that
yes.
I feel also like in the as we are like as many people that are listening and watching and are on the path of self-growth, self-development, self-knowledge. And self-knowledge equals to freedom, for me at least, like knowing oneself relatively, and then from the absolute standpoint, that's limitless. Um, and when we are on this journey, like to distinct the needs from expectations,
Mm,
because I feel sometimes there can be that confusion of having my value and my standard of how I want to live my life and what I want my relationship to be,
yes. Do
versus
you,
then like what you mentioned before, the needs that get to be met in order to heal and restore,
mm,
and then not being in the deserving, right? Like I'm
ah.
inherently worthy and deserving, not because I've done something, but because I am. And that's our.
Yeah, I don't even go to that we're inherently deserving. I just won't play there. It's a trap. Do you want
Okay,
me
yeah.
to teach about expectations and needs?
Yes, love to.
Okay. Um, so first, we define a need, what I would call a verified need, is something that has a huge benefit when it's met, and a benefit in terms of your capacities. Like, what qualities can you embody? What can you hold? What can you be with? So, literally, spaces in your body, by virtue of that need being met. And so there's a huge benefit to a need being met, and there's a huge cost to it not being met. So enough sleep is a good example of this, because we can make a very long list of what qualities we can be when we've had enough sleep, and then also a long list of what we can't be, and even that we're the opposite of what we can be. So we can be awful without enough sleep. So that would be an example of a need. And an expectation, they get entangled together, which we distinguish in connecting through conflict, because some of the things we need, we think should happen without us having to ask for them, should happen without us having to describe what it would look like to meet that need, and when and how often and how much, and that we shouldn't have to appreciate people for providing what we need. And that word should is what is the flag of an expectation. uh, any good person should do this. Anyone should, you should know to do this, right? You shouldn't have to be asked to do this. So when even we do that to ourselves, we have, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Oh, I should have done that, right? We have expectations of ourselves, and some of what we need, we also expect, and some of what we need, we don't expect. In fact, we don't even ask for it because we think it doesn't even have a chance. So it's kind of the opposite of an expectation. We think absolutely that need should be met, or why would someone ever want to give that to me? We go in the opposite direction, and both of those are quite costly. And one of the problems of expectations is that we think that they cause what we expect to actually happen. That expecting, we think expecting is an action. That expecting is a communication. No, mostly expecting is a complaint after the fact. Why didn't you do that? And, or we're just, I'm out of here. You know, they didn't do what I expect them to do, so I'm out of here. And I mean, I almost ended it with Dan after our second conversation because I wanted to be listened to differently. And then, and I was just going to call it off because I didn't like how he was listening to me. And then I asked myself, well, Alison, did you even ask to be listened differently? You know how you need to be listened is not normal. And you're expecting someone to do that without you asking. And you didn't even ask, let alone give them 3 chances, which is your policy is 3 chances. And thank goodness I got, caught by that net, or wouldn't be here 4 years later in the midst of this beautiful exploration of what we can be for each other, who we can be for each other. So expectations are what I call mischief makers. And they're the mischief makers, and they skew everything. And as you know from Lux, I also describe them as bunny rabbits, as in highly reproductive, that expectations, whether they're met or ignored or betrayed, they always create more expectations. Expectation is met, it can create the expectation that it'll always be met, or it can create the expectation that'll never happen again. Or oftentimes, and I teach men this, women think that if a man knows how upset she is about him not meeting her expectation, that he'll work harder. They're not built that way. But she expects him to do that. So now this expectation is also going to be dashed, and she'll blame the man for it. She won't blame the expectation, unless she's like, my expectations of men are just too high. They're just not up to that. They're not that good. And so now we have a different kind of expectation, right? We're expecting less. And one of the things I love about our curriculum is we adjust expectations to be appropriate to who men and women are. If you expect someone to be as they are, you're not shocked that he's not paying attention. You're looking to see, what's he paying attention to now? Because single focus is the testosterone state of mind, right? And instead of expecting her to give divided attention, look around. How many things are vying for her attention? And yet I'm expecting, like my husband, he expected when he started talking that I would start listening. And I asked him that once because he just started talking. I was in the middle of all this stuff and he kept talking. And I finally stopped and said, when you start talking, do you think I start listening? And he said, well, yes, I'm talking. And Greg was by no means a jerk, right? It was just obvious to him. I'm talking. Of course, you're listening. And like in Understanding Women, we teach men how to get and keep women's attention when the estrogen in their brain is having them be aware of everything going on in the meadow so that they can make sure they're safe and people are well and nobody trips on anything. So yeah, if I had it all my way, people would be noticing and welcoming, as in not resisting their expectations and releasing them immediately. Because they don't cause good things. Asking, clarity and asking, and how you ask matters, as you know, we teach that all over the place. That causes good things, and appreciation keeps good things happening.
Yeah. What do you say to women that are, or in the case where people are already in long-term relationship, and because when you just meet a new person, like you're meeting, and then you can apply, like from the beginning, you ask, you tell, these are my needs for me to be, so that I can be the best version of myself, so that I can be kind, and these are my, that's as I have explored and get to know myself, I know these are my needs, and then you're sharing this with another person, and you build this from the beginning, to have a solid foundation and to build up the queendom.
Ideally, it'll go that way.
Ideally,
yes.
yes.
And sometimes there's an earthquake, and you have to rebuild certain things. But I'm not going to say it's never too late, because there's something from our partnership level work that I call reach. So as long as people are reaching, and if they notice they're not willing to reach, they're willing to heal themselves or get what they need to be healed, so they will be willing to reach. So if you're like, could we try something new so we have more harmony? And the other person's like, yeah, let's. Anything's possible. If you're like, could we try one thing? I want to try one thing I just learned. Okay. Still, things are possible. You can build on that. If you reach out and the person doesn't reach back at all, they're just arms crossed. No, everything is not possible. So I hear all the time from couples who have transformed their marriages, their working relationships, even other kinds of couples like mothers and daughters and sisters, and who have transformed their interactions, one interaction at a time, being differently, listening differently, speaking differently, like we teach in Lux. And it's wonderful. It's wonderful to see how quickly something can be altered dramatically. Just one bit of courage at a time takes courage. One bit of generosity at a time, granting they're worth me trying again. often just learning to not interrupt. Count to 30, wait for the well. Let him think about it. Let her think about it. Don't just jump on top of, they took a breath. Count, wait. What else? Can change everything. I've had so many women tell me that. Just listening to learn, just not interrupting, has transformed my marriage. Can transform dating too, by the way, from something excruciating to a treasure hunt.
That's what we all love, a good treasure hunt.
A good treasure hunt. Yes, and there's so much treasure
There's
out there.
so many treasures out there.
So much
Countless
treasure in
treasures.
unexpected places.
Yeah,
Yes. Thank you
yeah.
for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's been, yeah, such a joy and honor again. And is there anything that you would like to share with our community, our listeners, how they can continue if they would like to? I know there's the website and alisonarmstrong.com.
Yeah.
I think that is
And then at YouTube, there's Alison Armstrong videos.
videos.
And your audience might enjoy an interview on YouTube podcast called Know Thyself with
Yeah.
Andre. I can't say his last name appropriately, but it's beautiful. We got to visit the spiritual side, and yeah, I would recommend that. It's a long conversation, but it's worth it. And thank you so much for having me. And I'll see you in class soon.
Yeah, see you very soon in class. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for being here with us. And yeah, it's so wonderful to share these jewels and discover that we are born to be free. Freedom is our nature. Freedom is our nature, like we would say in the Vedic tradition. That's the sole purpose, really, actually, of every being, to discover that they're free. They don't become free. We are free. We're always free, but we don't know. So for us, the key is self-knowledge. In other words, the removal of self-ignorance. And so step by step, we remove the veil and discover that we are everything we want to be already here and now. And on the way, we find all these incredible allies, and the support is here, even though at times we feel maybe we're alone and we got to do it all alone. It's not true. Like, there's so much support out there, and we can just simply ask for it, and you shall receive. So definitely an incredible support with Alison and all the courses, and check them out. There are many small courses, longer courses, so a huge variety of and a huge
Most
library.
people, I recommend to start with Lux. That is a really good place to start.
Yes. Yeah. And the book, The Queen's Code, and
absolutely, and listen to it.
Listen, I'm listening.
You can get on our website. Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Mwah.
Wow. Bye. Oh,
bye, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone.
From my heart to yours, deepest gratitude for your presence. May you follow your wildest dreams, live your highest purpose, and expand into the infinite, because that's what